Hey, a pleasant good day, everybody. Welcome to this edition of True Philadelphian Sportscast, one with the Hive Sixers podcast, where we're going to talk about the NBA return and, of course, our lovely Philadelphia 76ers. And I am, of course, here with my co host, Andrew. How are you doing, Andrew?
Doing really well. I'm very excited to finally get to talk about this once again. It's been a while talking about our beloved Sixers. So hopefully, with a potential return, we can dive into this really well.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And that's the key word, obviously, until anything final, especially with how Florida's going right now. We wish everyone down there well. That nothing is set in stone until it is officially on the ground and everything gets moving and running. So that is a key word. But I was just wondering what your thoughts are on the possible return and what you thought about when they announced, since we haven't talked about it on a pod in a while, Disney, what you thought about the whole overall structure of having it at ESPN's Worldwide of Sports, however they call it there, because I know they have a special like beginning word name for it. It's like the Wild World of Sports or something. But it's a really nice complex from what I've seen. I unfortunately haven't seen it in person because I haven't been at Disney in a while. But from what I've seen online, it's really nice. And I know you've been there more recently in person, so I'm not sure if you've seen it.
Yeah, it's first off very good. Someone's able to try to step in here and get the sport going again in Disney there, and hopefully it works out very well for them to get the return. I mean, obviously who knows with how it's kind of been crazy with in terms of Florida spike in cases. So we're hoping it can still get done, but we'll see if the health allows it. I have never actually been physically in the gym. I've been on the Worldwide Sports Complex itself. I got to see the baseball stadium there, which it used to be held Atlanta Braves spring training. I don't know if they still do or not there. But I was in the base. The baseball field is really nice. In terms of being inside the basketball arena, I have not been in there, but a few years ago, it would have been, I believe, 2018. Villanova and that Oklahoma State were actually in the same basketball. The college basketball kind of does that Thanksgiving tournament
Oh,
weekends. Um, 2 years ago, Villanova and Oklahoma State were both in the ESPN Worldwide one for that year, and so I watched basically that entire tournament between I don't know whatever that was like 10 games throughout the whole thing, and it looks like a really nice arena. I mean, it's obviously going to be weird seeing no fans there, and for an NBA, it's going to obviously look kind of small. I mean, obviously the court size is the same, but it will look kind of small, so it'll be funny to watch it like that. But no, overall, it looks like a very nice basketball court,
yeah.
just from what I've seen.
No, that's true. And that's why I was trying to figure out what the first word is because it's called ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex, whereas WIDE at the beginning. That's what I was trying. I knew there was a weird word at the beginning to start off the name, and that's what I was looking for. But they do have a really nice baseball field, too. I remember from seeing that when they did the Brave stuff. They have a very nice baseball field. And then when I searched it to get the beginning name, that's the first thing that popped up over the basketball court. So um, that's that looks like a really nice complex down there. And eventually, I'll definitely get back down there to be able to see it because I have to get back down to Disney to begin with. There's new rides there since I've been down there. I haven't been down there in like over 10 years. So um, that's something that's on my bucket list. But in terms of the city itself, I agree. I think it's cool having it down there. It's Disney. They have a great relationship with the league, obviously, because it's through, as we know, ABC and Disney. Disney owns ABC, which owns ESPN, so everybody's in the same company structure. So they obviously have a great relationship amongst the NBA between all that. So it makes perfect sense, and it's a perfectly nice place to have it. But now for our next topic we're getting into, this is where it becomes interesting because they did lock themselves into one place where I'm curious to what your thought on this is. If because it was an option from the forefront, if you think Hub City should have still been a fallback option, because as of now, it seems like it wasn't a fallback option because it's not like we hear about, oh, let's revert back and change our plans or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it's obviously a tough situation for anyone. I mean, the league doesn't know what kind of spot the world's gonna be in a month from now, and it's quite tough to tell. And obviously, you want to have backup plans and stuff, but I can't fault them for not having it in this situation, just because. I mean, if you look at the situation, you have an organization, or not really an organization, a company here in Disney who stepped up to hold it, and you can't. No one else doesn't look like they want to because of the situation you're at. There was talks about other places in Florida, but again, they're on the rise, so you're not going to be able to put it in Miami or any hot destinations like that because of how serious it is. Arizona's kind of backtrack because they're on the spike again. So I don't, as nice as it would be to have a backup, I don't think it's almost a possibility because of you in a hub city. If you're going to put from the start, the league's goal is to have everyone in the same spot. And it's gonna be tough to put that many people in the same hotels and everything. Luckily for a spot like Disney, they have countless amount of hotel destinations on their complex that they can use there and rent out while they're not. I mean, they've opened a little bit, but they're not full capacity yet, so they're not even opening up. They were working with Disney. Obviously, the NBA is a big part of ESPN and ABC and all that, and the ESPN and ABC is with Disney. So again, it kind of all came together because of all the packages that are already there set in place. And I think that's why it was able to work out so well for the NBA. So I can't, I know you mentioned it, they should have backup plan and everything, but with all the spots and all the dominoes that fell into place there, I think it was such a good fit where Disney offered, the NBA was able to take advantage of it. The TV deals are already there and just etc. And again, the space is there to have this all happen while allowing what they want eventually to allow family members into the arena as well. So you don't have to worry about too many family members coming back as well. So to me, it was not a surprise, and I can't fault them for not because of how well this worked out and the contract was really done very well. Because like if you're gonna pick a hub city, like you can't hold the entire NBA in Philly. Like I mean, if you think about it, you can't have all those guys coming to one city like that, or you can't have them all go to Memphis or any of those. Like,
don't think it would have been. I think they would have done it if they did hub cities. From what I remember reading, then it would have been similar to the NHL, where the East would have been with the East and the West would have been with the West. I don't think they would have had everybody crammed into one locale. I think it would have been split like that. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's difficult when you have a perfect plan fall into place because anybody would jump on. Well, not a perfect plan, but a plan that just fell into your lap because they offered, like you said, to host it, and it's a perfect place to have it. That's the way I was looking for the word perfect. No plan in this situation perfect, but it's definitely a perfect setting to have it if it all works out. It's a beautiful place to have it. It's at Disney. You can definitely market very well there. So it all makes sense. My only thought was maybe in the back of your mind you could have still had two cities you were like in communication with a little bit, like just in case this goes south, we might have to go here. That's the only thought I had. I wasn't saying I think we should have known about it because I don't think we should need to know about everything. We of course talked about that when it comes to baseball on the chasing the pennant with the other guy, where we don't need to know about everything. I'm just saying maybe they actually have that too, which I wouldn't be shocked from listening to how prepared over the last night or so, because I knew we were going to do this podcast. I watched different YouTube clips and stuff. The NBA seems pretty prepared for what comes up. Silver's responded to everything, including all the social justice stuff, pretty well as well. That I wouldn't be shocked if they actually do maybe have in the back of their mind, if this keeps hitting the fan, we might have another plan where they just don't tell that to the public because the NBA is not like the MLB and doesn't air everything out to everybody. So that's
yeah,
another what I had.
yeah, I hear you as well on that. I just think again, you're able to get that deal done with the players because obviously Orlando and Disney that's a destination they won't mind staying in. But
No,
it'd be harder to get a deal done with the players if you're going to say, okay, you got to get quarantined in the same spot for however many days in Arizona by yourself or whatever. And that's why that was partial part of the MLB's problem at first when all those rumors kept hitting is players don't want to stay in one random spot in a town nobody knows. I mean, I'm sure baseball would have been more players would have been more comfortable if they were able to stay in Orlando the whole time, but I mean, you got to remember these guys aren't going to want to get quarantined in a random city for that long. And I mean, some people even have issues with this plan already. So it's going to be interesting. And one thing you got to remember, these guys have the right not to play. Like, even if the season does happen, but they don't feel comfortable because of health issues or whatever, they have the right to say no. So I'm interested to see how many guys do say no because, I mean, so many of them have come out with concerns. So it's going to be a very interesting next month on how this whole thing plays out.
That's a very good point. I still personally think anybody on the Lakers will probably play in the end because they're on LeBron's team. And I think when LeBron eventually says, "Hey, buddy, I want you to play," I think eventually you're going to listen to LeBron. That's just an outsider's point of view, but I just feel like that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I would listen to LeBron,
So,
especially the way if you make him unhappy, you might be leaving the Lakers anyway. So
mhm. Especially because if you're talking about someone who I love how he stepped up for the social justice issues, Dwight, but Howard's obviously a guy that is doing so well for himself basketball wise too with the Lakers. So he's actually having a very good year reestablishing himself. So that's a place that would behoove him to want to stay, especially because LA is also talking about social justice, a immensely wonderful city to you see how good LeBron's doing out there with everything to have a platform and represent yourself. So for not just basketball reasons, but for the reasons off the court as well, it would behoove Dwight Howard that I think he will end up playing. And he already kind of hinted at that in different interviews. He never said he wouldn't play. He just said he agreed with Kyrie Irving. It's not like he said, "Oh, if other people play, I'm not going to play." That's kind of why the media is kind of misconstruing what some people said, I think. Because I think what they said is, "We're with you," but it's more what Kyrie said. They're going to stand with what other people decide for the most part. They're not just going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to be the lone person not playing." You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, that makes sense.
That's uh that's why I think when the media came out and said, "Oh, all these people said," and then you had different people replying to it like, "Just stop it." Like I know CJ McCollum, I think, was one that replied to it right away. So it was interesting following all that stuff back and forth with the media. But I mean, it's definitely their right to decide not to play or not. And then I just feel like Stephen A said you can do really good too by playing and representing your platform and getting everybody to focus on it before the games and during the games even, and then after if you want to via interviews like Jalen Rose was saying, and then you would be perfectly fine playing. That's why, and I think LeBron and guys like that are going to do a good job at leading the force with that. Even guys like PG 13. Paul George is pretty good at that stuff. You got Chris Paul, obviously. All those guys will probably be a good leading force with that. Kyrie himself, if they decide to come back, I'm sure he even said if he will stand with what the players decide. So I'm sure he'll help the platform as a whole if they do decide to come back. So I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, no, again, it's gonna be interesting. I don't think I mean, there isn't obviously a right or wrong. If they don't feel comfortable, they shouldn't go back out there. And I mean, honestly, who knows you would feel comfortable? I mean, I know right now, I mean, with everything going on, I don't want to be touching someone with a bunch of sweat already like that. Like,
Oh yeah,
uh,
that's true, but that's also with the virus thing where I know, and I don't normally always even agree with Chris Broussard. He's one of the basketball analysts that I go very bridge drawbridge like. It's like I'm here or I'm completely off the bridge and just like, nope, not agreeing with you at all. But he was right with Kevin Wildes about this week where telling the NBA that they potentially wouldn't play for social justice issues is actually what probably made them step up and had Silver release all those statements saying, if you choose not to play, like all that different stuff, and we're going to stand up, we're going to do all this other stuff with different committees, et cetera, and really step up. I think that did make a change actually in taking that stand, which is something that I just figured we should probably point out because I think that did really help the NBA push forward where, like Chris Broussard said, he didn't hear any inklings about them releasing statements like that until people said, well, no, we might actually just decide not to play because we would rather enact change in our society. So I just
yeah,
figured,
but you're not gonna hear people say, "Oh, I'm gonna release a statement on this." Like, it's not like it's a breaking news thing. When someone releases a statement, it's just a statement. I don't think Chris would have, and I mean, he's a great reporter and everything, but I don't think he'd have any inside information on if a guy was going to release a statement or not. I mean,
No. He's not
I,
talking about a player. He's talking about
no, I know you're talking about the NBA.
the
I'm
league.
saying, yeah, they're not going to know. Like, they're not going to be like, oh, Adam Silver's releasing a statement in 10 seconds. Or
No.
Adam's,
He wasn't talking about from that.
that's what you said, though.
He was just talking about from the perspective of leading up to the statement. Like you would hear inklings of, oh, we're going to change our stance on blah, 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 probably. And then that would lead to a statement. You wouldn't know if there's going to be a statement, but you would hear inklings about the system changing a little bit potentially, is what he was getting at. And he never heard anything about that. That's why he thought making that stance actually had more of an effect than some people gave it credit for. That's all I was getting at. Because you probably would hear about some thoughts of things coming out where you heard about different rumors and different things. Like they said, Roger Goodell before he did was going to make a second statement where you didn't hear about all of that within the NBA. I think that's more what he was getting at.
I disagree. I mean, they all were saying they're going to change things when it's all going on. I think you still get a statement even if Kyrie Irving's movement of not playing doesn't come out. I think you still would have had a statement. You still would have had him say, "Were you
Well, let me ask
we're behind the players." I
you
mean,
of a statement.
what was it?
Because the statement was the NBA statement was very focused compared to other statements you look at. Because
What do you mean it was focused? What does that mean? What do you mean by focused?
well, like they didn't just release a broad statement and go, "Oh, here's our statement on it." Um,
Oh,
and
so you're saying it was detailed and thought out.
yeah,
So
which is
that tells me even more that they would have been thinking about it beforehand. Because if they just released something because someone said because of an NBA movement, it would have been looked rushed and everything like that. So if it's detailed and thought out, that tells me from day one they were going to release the statement because they knew it's an important issue and they were going to come out with another statement. So it was going to get released no matter what.
okay.
The,
I was just wondering what you thought on that because I know they brought that up on the show where I do feel like it might have brought a greater impact to things happening quicker, if that makes any sense, though. Because the NBA might have waited a little bit longer to
I,
have stuff come back and do all this other stuff. Not releasing a statement. I'm just talking about action might happen quicker because of that stance too, rather than waiting until after stuff happens with the resume for action to take place. That's another side of it that I was also thinking of.
yeah, again, I think it's impacted the world very well, and I think the players' side of things is doing good for the world and everyone, all of us to understand it more. But in terms of the statement, I think NBA does it. I don't think the movement had much impact on the NBA statement itself. Again, I think the movement's good for us to become aware of it and move and look at it in a different light and try to bring the change to the world. But the physical statement itself, I don't think it had much of an impact on NBA's statement on the issue.
Gotcha. And then I'll just to wrap up this, I'll just read it real quick so people know what it is that didn't get to see it. They said on Fox Sports when they put it up, it was a central goal of our season restart will be to utilize the NBA's platform to bring attention and sustained action to issues of social injustice, including combating systemic racism, expanding educational and economic opportunities across the Black community, enacting meaningful police and criminal justice reform, and promoting greater civic engagement. We are in discussion with the Players Association to develop a comprehensive strategy of how the NBA, its teams, and players can best address these important social issues and uniquely position our league to drive action and create meaningful and generational change. So that's the statement out of the NBA as Mr. Popularity is getting a phone call in the background over there.
Yeah, again, I think it's a good statement. I think it was well thought out, and they might have had players look at it maybe, but I
That's a
think
good point. That is a very good point. That might have been a factor that they might have not had done if this whole situation didn't happen and players were taking a bigger stance, because the NBA did that. That's obviously not required at all to have the Players Association have players look at a statement before you release it. So that is
Yeah.
a good point.
So, yeah, I think it's starting to become more aware, and I think it's going to be good for the world to have this movement and stuff, and I think it's going to impact everyone in a positive light when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's nothing more to go on there other than we're probably touch on this maybe some when we talk about our hockey podcast later in the week and how the NHL is also doing stuff to combat this as well. But we'll save it and keep it at that for now. And bravo for the NBA and the players for stepping up and really helping to enact change like they've always have done. That league and the NFL have always been the two most paramount leagues in terms of players trying to enact social reforms and social change. So it's nice to see that they keep doing it. And it's nice to see that finally people like us that are more people like us, I should say, that are white are actually taking notice and taking action. And it's not just looking at a tweet and then moving on. They're donating or they're letting those videos run on their YouTube that automatically donate where you don't even have to do anything. You just have to let it run on your YouTube with ads. So like anything you can do when you don't have money to do, if you do have money, obviously helps. And it's nice to see everybody contributing when they can with this effort. But moving on to the next topic from the social reform to another thing that could prevent, obviously, the NBA from coming back or could cause us to come back in a different way if we do come back is the health devices. They have the Aura, OURA ring that looks really cool to me. That is a ring that the players wear that actually will tell you if they are presenting symptoms or anything that could lead up to the virus. And I also read on Twitter, apparently some Lakers and potentially others were using this beforehand. And I just think this is I don't know about you, but a cool, innovative idea to keep everybody healthy in general in sports leagues that are in close quarters. Because if you have the flu in general, when there's just regular stuff going on, that spreads a lot in the locker room, let alone a virus that we can't even figure out how it completely spreads like the coronavirus. So I don't know. I just feel like this might not be a half bad idea potentially going forward since some players were using it anyway, but I don't know about you.
Yeah, if they're willing to wear it, it's optional, so there's nothing mandatory for them to wear it or not. They're not going to implement it to be mandatory. It's going to be all optional. So, I mean, I don't think there's any harm of offering it to the players and letting them wear it if they want to. So, again, with that being said, it's all up to them. The coaches won't have none of the information goes back to the coaches, so I think that's interesting. I mean, they're not going to be able to tell who's breaking what quarantine rules by it. It's really just a health thing for the players to be aware with it. So I think it's a really cool idea, a really neat idea, and another good source for the league to track that if they're willing to. I mean, I guess if they have the money for it and everything, and able to pay for it, there's no harm in it.
No, I completely agree. I think it's a just good extra um, icing on the cake type thing where I know Fauci pointed out about the NBA when they were originally going to come back that he liked the NBA's plan the best out of all the plans because of how they were in a consolidated spot and keeping everything central, where obviously having that in addition probably even makes a doctor like him, I would assume, more confident in their stance on the health side of everything. Because I know from looking at him and his stuff that he said, which some people disagree with at times, but he was the most confident in the NBA, which it seems like it was because of, like you said, being locked in one controlled location. And the fact that also Max Kellerman, who did annoy me the other day on his hockey take, but we'll get into that when we get to our hockey podcast. But you finally brought Max Kellerman over to the other side. Normally, when Max Kellerman sold on his on a side of his take and goes, I don't know, I'm not that optimistic, and then now he's optimistic about it potentially coming back this week on first take because of the way that their health stuff is. that's when I think you also know that they're doing a pretty good job with their health stuff. Because normally, once Max sells himself on a take, he has to have a truck and then another truck sometimes come to push him to the other side of the take. So, I don't
Yeah,
know. Go ahead.
yeah. I think no Max. I mean, he's a good reporter with Stephen A. I mean, like you said, he'll keep his ideas one-sided, and I, I don't
That's
think he's as
they
bad
got.
as people make him out to be in
He's
terms of
not.
not
I actually like.
changing his opinion. Um, I mean, I think most people on their sports takes are the same as him, so I can't fault him for that too much.
No, I think the big thing with him is he usually keeps his opinion on stuff that people don't agree with in the first place. I think that's the big thing. Like like Stephen A. People will be like, okay, he's going to keep his opinion on that, but some of the country might actually agree with him. Where Max, when he started saying, "Oh, Kawhi's the best player in basketball, hands down," that was before he even won. So it was kind of like, yeah, the Kawhi Leonard's doing well. I don't know about the best player in basketball. Even saying that now, it's a little bit of a question mark because he doesn't play. Like he decide like LeBron doesn't go. Oh, let me pick these 17 games on the schedule that I don't feel like playing this season. So that's also why it's a question mark. Now, but I actually really like Max because I just think the show's entertaining. He does really good with Stephen A. Um, and they have a good rapport back and forth, like Skip and Stephen A. had, where I hate all the takes Skip Bayless has, but I can tell as a person from all he does, and you can tell from Shannon and when he had all the stuff on YouTube from the social justice stuff, you can tell how genuinely great of a person Skip is. So those two guys, I don't. I got mad at Max for his hockey take. I'm not one of those people that just hates an analyst because of one take. I'm never going to be one of those people that just starts. I think you're the same way. You're probably not one of those people that if you thought someone was decent and then they said one take that just threw you awry, you just all of a sudden go, okay, now I can't discuss or watch or listen to this person anymore.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I agree.
Um, but I think now that we talked about the ring devices to get into the overall NBA last topic and also for our Sixers, I don't know if you were able to look at anything, but if you were interested in any of the free agents that could possibly sign, which some obviously include the names of like J.R. Smith, who has been in the league for a while, Isaiah Thomas, you got the Tyler Johnsons of the world, you got all those guys. I think is Joakim still on the Clippers, or did he just get a 10-day contract? You obviously have Trey Burke, so you have guys like that the Sixers should have kept over Raul Neto, but I'll let that go. Um, so I don't know if there's any free agent, including one that was here, that you think could fit into the Sixers, or that would not surprise you if they got picked up by another team.
Well, yeah, first to start with our hometown team here in the Sixers. Um, there's not too many guys that are gonna change your team right now. I mean, you you bring in a guy who you can bring in anyone honestly on this list, and you compare it to what you have right now. They're not gonna get any playing time over anybody. I mean, you have
Well,
your playoff roster set. I mean, you have your core
it's one
guys
position that
that
might.
I see. I don't know where you're gonna go with it, but I'm probably gonna disagree in the sense your team's set. Like who the only, I mean,
I
and the
mean,
guy,
to be practical because he can't move. He's coming off of surgery, but he's able to play now, so you don't have a backup center. He got waived by the Lakers in August. If you wanted to get Boogie, you could pick up Boogie for the playoff.
I'm passing on DeMarcus Cousins. You don't need him.
I don't
Again,
know if we
you
don't need.
don't
We don't
you
have
don't
a backup center.
you don't need him. You don't know what you're gonna get out of him. He's already been hurt. He has countless amount of issues with refs, with locker room. I mean, he's just not someone you want to bring in for a playoff. If you get him in the beginning of the year, great. You can work him into your system, work him in with the clubhouse. He's not a guy I'm taking a chance on in a shortened season. I don't know what you want to call it, season playoff thing. It's just too odd, and I'm not taking that chance on a guy like DeMarcus Cousins. If there's one guy I'd consider bringing in, it'd be a veteran who's always been around the league, is a great guy, and that's Jamal Crawford. I've always been a fan of his. I think he'd have something to offer, maybe. But again, you bring him into the team, you're not going to play him over other guys. So to answer your question, I would not really think. I mean, you can obviously think about it and weigh your options, but there's nobody out there that I'm in dire need of that's going to change the Sixers team. And again, I'm saying that because you look at a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, he's not playing. I mean, you already got Embiid, you got Horford as your two centers. You're
Warford
gonna bring.
plays some power forward, which is why I figured getting a big man wouldn't be the worst thing because Mike Scott's playing atrocious this year, which is a shame because like we have this podcast named after him. We were hoping he played well, but he's not playing well, so that did not work out. And then Powell, you never really have a confidence in him, it seems. So that's why I figured getting someone like him might make sense. The only other guy I looked toward because he broke, I believe it was his foot in the offseason, um, was Gerald Green. That was been a pretty good player his entire career. Again, I don't think her play over people like you said, but if you're adding extra people to your bench since you have extra space anyway, he's a guy. If the worst were to happen and someone got injured, he's got a lot of experience. He's obviously solid on both ends of the floor. He can shoot a little bit. He can probably provide you like some 5 points off of the bench sometimes if he was forced in, and give you like 5 to 7 good minutes. So he's coming off of that injury. He's supposed to be able to be back now, and he was a player that obviously could have been a big part of a team running to the playoffs as one of their extra guys if he never had that injury. So that was kind of the biggest name I looked for because he's a guy that was set to still probably be in a lineup if he didn't break his foot. Where a lot of these other guys, Cousins was an ACL, but that's an injury. When you read the article, it said his mobility is going to be limited. So the only reason I said that was just to get your reaction since we could use some help down low. But Green's a guy as a veteran I would not mind picking up because a guy like Tyler Johnson, I don't know what your thoughts are on him. He's been good in his career. He's just struggled a lot this year. Like the guy said, he's been bad this year, but he doesn't believe that's his actual value. So if he goes back to being solid and playing good defense and being a good point guard that can facilitate a bit on the offensive end as a backup, that's better than Raul Nato, but that's more of a big if. So I don't know what your thoughts are on him.
See, I disagree. I think he's a downgrade to Raul Neto. I really do. I mean, first off, Neto doesn't get much playing time anyway, so it's a backup position that you're not, unless an injury happens. But like, you're looking at Tyler Johnson, who's below 30% three-point shooter, compared to Neto, who's at just below 40%. So you're downgrading your shooting options there, and that's what this team needs is better shooters. Uh,
Oh, this year he
th
was below 30. Before his career, he's not
he's
below.
only a 35 complete or 35% three-point shooter in his career.
Yeah, I know, but that's because that's
So
not his biggest part of his game. Tyler Johnson was always more of a guy that when he was on the Heat and he would kill us sometime, he was a guy that would kind of drive and then also score, shoot the mid range. He wasn't a guy that would just try to rely on the threes all the time.
but
Um,
like, that's the same with Raul Neto. Like
either.
it's not.
No, I get that. It's just I've never been impressed by Nato. I thought Trey Burke was a better point guard than him. The only reason we got rid of Burke, who we could also bring back, which I wouldn't mind, was because of he got injured a little bit, but then he came back, and then we got rid of him when he actually was.
Injuries and size. He's not. He's a little undersized,
Yeah, but
especially when it's come playoff time. I
way more
mean,
talented than Raul.
again, and you already upgraded. Like you already upgraded those spots.
We didn't
Like
upgrade
the, the
point.
those guys aren't playing. Like those guys aren't gonna play. Like you already got. You bring in a guy. Shake Milton's playing out of his mind. You already got him. He'll be back from his injury. Josh Richardson's gonna be back from his injury. You're bringing in Alec Burks. You're bringing Glenn Robinson. Like that's why there's no room for anyone. Like you're not gonna cut any of those guys to sign a guy like Tyler Johnson or sign a guy like Gerald Green. Like I don't think that like the Sixers are already set. Like that's what I don't think. Again, none of these names are eye popping names to go out rush to get and cut anyone on the roster. I mean, if you would have signed J.R. Smith, you would have did it before this shutdown because he's been a free agent. Same thing with Jamal Crawford. They've been free agents the entire time. Joakim Noah at this point, again, he's not going to do anything for you. Trey Burke, again, I mean, I know everyone likes to complain, but he's not. I mean, if you want to compare him to, I know a lot of people want to Raul Neto Cup, but like in reality, they're not much different. Like he's not that much better than Neto. That it's going to make a difference.
And Burke's a lot more of it. When you look on the court, though, NATO's more of an effort player, like a poor man's TJ. Burke, because of injuries, and he never lived up to his an athletic guard than Raul Nato. NATO's more of a aggressive, um, all effort guy, where Burke is
That's
gives
what you want. That's what you want in the playoffs.
but he's
You want
well,
an aggressive guy.
yeah, but
You're
It's
not
not
gonna.
like he doesn't put the effort in. Burke's just more of an athlete, where if he's at his best, he can do a little bit more than Raul Nato when he's at his best. Who's more of, like
But
I
that's my
said,
point. Like, what's a little more is not gonna like it's not gonna change it. Like, that I'd rather go in with a group of guys that have been on the team for the whole like it. What you have right now is what you got to play with. Like those
I
guys would
also,
be those guys would be a quote unquote like a
but the other
bullpen guy.
thing,
Like you're not gonna use them
okay,
unless someone gets hurt.
yeah, but
Like
I thought they still might, from reading different things in the week, unless if this just got debunked. Now, are they definitely not going to expand the rosters at all now? Because if they expand the rosters by a couple, you're not releasing anybody to get them. You know what I'm saying?
I'm calling up guys like Zaire Smith who like I'm trusting like I'm a huge Shayok fan. I'd rather have Shayok and his size in there that I mean he can do damage. I think Zaire Smith hasn't really got a chance yet. I'd rather Zaire Smith's his athletic ability and his defense, which he's known for, come in here and do something because again, nothing against Trey Burke. I think he's a decent player, and like you said, he's athletic and stuff, and he's quick. But again, when it comes playoff time, you need that extra footing, and I'll take a 6'4", 200 Zaire Smith getting in there, getting after on the defensive end, who's probably just athletic, if not more athletic, than a guy who's probably just under 6 foot when it comes to the playoffs. Like that, all that you got to take into consideration when it comes to playoff time. It's a much different game than the regular season.
Oh yeah, but TJ wasn't a big guard, and he was a max effort guy. That's why I'm saying he was probably even more
But like
athletic.
TJ's better than Trey Burke. Like it's
Oh yeah,
and T,
but TJ, I'm also saying as a max effort guy is light years better than NATO. He's more athletic than NATO too, where he
I
wasn't
agree, but
he
I,
wasn't the tallest of guys either. That's why I'm saying I'm not sure if Burke was playing well, the whole height thing wouldn't necessarily matter
but
if he
he's
was
not
able.
playing like he's not playing well.
Well, no, because he got cut. I don't. He never got picked up by anybody. So
So that's my point. Like the fact that he got picked, I don't know. Again, nothing against him.
I
He's
just
been a,
don't
a
think he
decent
got
role
picked
player,
up
but
because by the time they got released, uh, teams like you said were already kind of in lockstep. Where now that you have extra spaces, teams might be likely to pick some guys up. Like I wouldn't be surprised if a team picks up a Trey Burke to slide him at the bottom of the bench for if all heck breaks loose. And the same goes with a Cousins if you have a team that has some centers, but just in case one gets injured, I wouldn't be shocked if someone picks him up just because of the skill level that's there. And if it's a coach that we know can control the locker room well as well. So none of that would shock me. Either with Tyler Johnson, just because he's done it in the past and he's been in the postseason. It's just he hasn't been good this year.
no, I get that. I'm just saying. First off, I don't know what the roster expansion is. I don't think I heard that. I don't know how many they're going to. So I don't know if you know how many roster spots you get, but I mean, you, I don't know, just
It would
I
be
don't
17 when I read a thing earlier in the week, but I'm not sure if that's still a possibility.
know. So again, I think Trey Burke will probably get signed by maybe they need someone that needs a point guard. I know other guys have been dealing with injuries or won't come back. Like it sounds like Victor Oladipo is still not going to play. It sounds like he's dealing with things. Um, I just I think I don't think anyone on the free agent bubble or market right now really does anything to help the
For
Sixers
the
from
Sixers, no.
top to
Okay,
bottom.
I'm fine with that. I was just naming those guys at the end too, just for other teams' possibility too. Like I think they're getting picked up by somebody.
I
Where
honestly don't think Cousins will go to anyone. I think with his injury and who knows what he's going to be able to do with coming off an Achilles injury, and then he gets the other setback. I mean, I don't think anyone will take that chance. If I'm being honest. Uh, Noah was with the Clippers on that 10-day or well on a 10-day contract before it got shut down. He might get a spot, and we'll see. Gerald Green, he could. I don't honestly. I don't think Trey Burke goes anywhere. I
I
think
think Charles Green's one of
I
the
think
most like.
I think Tyler Johnson's more of a name for a point guard than Trey Burke. I think he's proven more. Again, he's having a downside. That's another reason why I'd stay with him or stay out away from him because he's having a down year. You don't want to bring another guy having a down year on the Sixers team. Another guy we haven't mentioned him on Shumpert. He's an interesting name. I'd say he's less than Green. I don't think he'll add more than Green. Again, I don't think J.R. Smith or Jamal Crawford will go anywhere. They've been free agents the whole season, so if you didn't pick them up by now, I don't think it's going to change too much in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
Uh, Honestly, I don't know how many people get signed without an injury. I really don't. I don't think any of the guys out there right now are really going to be too impactful to a playoff team. I think it'll be just a sign and stash kind of guy, if anything. And they'll be lucky to see some playoff minutes pending anything crazy that happens in the postseason.
no, I agree with you. Yeah, I don't think any of it is going to be they're going to become big contributors. I think all these people are just going to be signed to be used as extra pieces. But like some said, I guess I could see the Lakers if LeBron wants them signing JR. That's really the only place I could see JR honestly going to at all.
See,
If
I don't know why they'd even. I'd stay away from him. I don't know why he'd want him. Like
um
he's caused enough issues with. I mean that. I mean, and
well,
you already got guys that would play in front of him. I mean, Quinn Cook's a better shooter at this point. Avery Bradley offers you offense and defense. Uh, Obviously, I'd take Kuzma over him. They already have Deion Waiters, which is kind of another J.R. Smith.
no,
Uh,
I'm just saying other people have commented. Like I know Nick Wright and then some analysts on ESPN when I was watching Sports Center and First Take said that could be a possibility because that's the only possibility for J.R. Smith really would be reuniting with LeBron. Other than that, he's probably not going to find anything.
no, I get it. I disagree with it. I don't think he's a good fit for them at all. Like even with the past history, I don't think he. I mean, I didn't even mention Danny Green. Like they just there's no room for him. Like I get it.
I'm
You can expand your
saying
team,
on
but doesn't mean like and they got Caldwell Pope. Like they already got so many guys at that position.
yeah,
I just see zero room for him. I don't. I would actually pick the Lakers to be one of his less likely destinations.
I don't know. I think I'm not saying it's a great fit for him. I'm just saying LeBron's there, and if LeBron asked them to sign J.R. Smith, they're probably going to sign J.R. Smith.
I'm saying from LeBron's standpoint, why would you ask for J.R. Smith? Like, I wouldn't want him playing over Quinn Cook. I wouldn't want him playing over Avery
Maybe it's not.
Bradley, Danny
Maybe it's
Green, Caldwell Pope,
maybe
Kuzma. I
maybe it's a
mean, Deion
relationship.
Waiters.
It could just be they've been together for a while. They know how to get each other going and all that type of stuff. They had that one blunder obviously in the postseason, but other than that, LeBron always spoke very highly of JR. So maybe it's just something on that baseline, like having another dude that he's really tight with in the locker room, just as the extra guy. If they weren't going to add anybody anyway, maybe he just figures to add somebody that he has a relationship with. It could just be from that simple of an aspect, which I don't think there would be an issue with that. Because it's not like he would play much anyway. He's just going to be there more as a former teammate of LeBron that's now a current teammate again that just kind of they get along well. He becomes good for LeBron and all that. That could become a possibility just because he wants somebody else he has a tight relationship with, and then if injuries were to happen, he knows he's relied on him in the past. That would be my thought.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, only time will tell, I guess, at this point. They'll open up 2 days from now. It opens up, and June 23rd, you'll have the ability to sign these guys. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I just, again, if LeBron wanted him and he was going to sign with someone, like, why wouldn't, like, LeBron would have spoke up by now before 70 games into the season uh, to do that. And again, at this point, when you're in first place like that, dominating the season already, I don't know why you try to mess with any of the lineups in place. So I understand they play together, but I don't see where uh, he fit in with that team, and even with the past. And just because you're a good guy doesn't mean you're gonna sign him.
No, no, I completely get that. I'm just saying. I think that's the only place he would go because of that relationship, unless if he went to the other LA team because they wanted him. But
Well, he'll
uh,
go anywhere that offers him a contract. The problem is nobody wants him.
oh yeah, that's why I'm saying I think the only team he would end up going to is if LeBron wanted him, because that's the only destination that I think could want him at this point of his career since he hasn't played for a while and he's an inconsistent shooter as it is. But anyway, in the last 14 minutes or so of our podcast, I figured it would be good to talk about where we think our Sixers shape up heading into this thing, and where you think they will finish, if you think they'll stay at sixth, or if we'll move up, or what you think's going to happen there. So I'll let you start with that.
I think the Sixers shape up really well. I'm excited if they get back at it. I don't see how Sixers fans can't be excited. I think there's no reason why this team can't make a run to the finals, if not even do more than that, depending on what happens in the Western Conference. I understand what happened in the first 70 games of what happened this season, but we've been a depleted team all year. I mean, if you look up the amount of games this team's actually able to play full on, no injuries, there's not many. And you look at what's happening now. I mean, you see a very motivated Simmons, very motivated Embiid, and these guys are ready to get back at it, prove everybody wrong. There's definitely a message being sent, and I honestly think this team will make a big run. I don't think they get eliminated in the first round, even the second round. I'm comfortable in saying that, and it's a neutral location. I'm ready for this thing to kick off because this team's ready, and you can tell by their interactions they have on social media. And I mean, it's exciting to see because I believe in this team. I believe in Brett Brown. I know you're not a big fan of him. I know a lot of other people aren't, but it's time to get behind him, not rip on him.
Yeah, well, I'll do that when we succeed this year. It's kind of like I hated Dave Haxtell most of the time. Then we made the playoffs. So I'm like, I guess I kind of like you, Dave Haxtell. Then we made the playoffs again, and then he finally showed that he fizzled out fairly quickly because he kept coaching like he was in North Dakota. But I don't think Brett Brown's coaching like he's in college, obviously, because he was from the Spurs. But I'm just saying, when he proves me wrong in the playoffs, that's probably when I'll really change my judgment on Brett Brown. I just want to see us go deep into the postseason, where that's also why I never liked Dave Haxtell very much. It's not like the Flyers did a damn thing when they made the playoffs. So that's kind of what helps me judge a coach too. It's like when we get there, what do we do too? So that's also a big thing for me. But I agree. I mean, I really do like how well Embiid, because Embiid's obviously a big guy you worry about with how he has very, let's just say, inconsistent dieting. Um, where Simmons is not really a guy you necessarily worry about because he already from that Sixers video, I forget what it was called, but the one where they like went to his house and they showed him like a day with Ben Simmons or whatever it was at the beginning of the season. Um, and he talked about like how you have to take at least one day off a week and stuff like that. In that video, they showed him like working out and doing like he's always been that type of dude. And B's always worked out well. The problem with him was always the dieting, where with how he looks now, it looks like his dieting obviously got better too. I don't know if you agree with that.
It looks like it. I don't really know what it was beforehand, so I don't think we can really judge whether it's gotten better. I mean, we hear it's gotten better, and it
I'm
looks
just
like he's
talking
getting
about
stronger and
before.
everything. So Yeah, no, again, so yeah, it looks better, and again, they're both motivated and they're ready to get back at it. I mean, you have a coach who, I know you disagree. I don't understand how people always rip on him, but last year was a good postseason for Brett Brown. I really believe that, and I mean, first year he struggled and he fixed it. I mean, he fixed it, got you to face the current defending champions of the league, and you lose in their place on a lucky shot that took four bounces to fall in. That most of the time is going to roll out. So you lose on a heartbreaking lucky shot that nothing you can control. He got you in that position. His defense had it. I think it was a 94-94 game. So the defense was there the whole time. People like to criticize that. Defense is one of the strongest parts of this team. And then again, you have a favorable schedule coming back. You're 8 games before, or you're gonna get matched up with the Pacers, the Wizards, the Raptors, the Suns, Blazers, Rockets, Wizards again, and the Magic. So you should beat the Wizards twice. You beat the Magic, that's three. The Suns is a win, that's four. You should beat the Pacers, that's five. Raptors would be a good game. Blazers you should beat, so I'll say six. And then Raptors and Rockets are really the two question mark games for me, at least in this. So I'm looking at 6-2, probably around that, or possibly even better. Maybe I say at worst 5-3, but a good chance for the Sixers to move up. And honestly, I don't even know if I want them to move up. If the Celtics stay at three, I think the Celtics should be the perfect first round matchup for this team, facing off there. And I don't see. That's why I'm excited for this to kind of get back at it because I'm ready for it. And you mentioned it, Embiid and I mean that Simmons like fixing their diets or whatever, and they cut back on things and get in better shape. But
I think
I'm ready to
Simmons.
get this thing running.
Yeah, I never thought Simmons. That was never one of my issues with Simmons. I don't think one of the only issue I ever had with Ben Simmons was I think he should shoot the damn ball more when he has an open shot, and sometimes should go for the foul
Least of the worries for this team is Ben
instead of
Simmons shooting.
instead of kicking it out when you have inconsistent shooters. Unless you're kicking it out to like Furkan or Shake. I'm talking about when we kick it out to like Glenn Robinson when he's like 1 for 5, and then you're like, okay, well that might not be the best. Um,
40,
but
40% shooter when he came over here. You gotta trust
uh,
your teammate, especially when it
but
comes in.
but he's done
It's
terrible.
what the regular season's for.
He
40,
hasn't got going since he got here,
he's
which is kind of
shooting over 40% from three. Why you gotta trust that guy?
this
I
is
got
honestly a blessing in disguise for the Sixers because the Sixers guys did not get going when we traded for them. Burks or Robinson really didn't get going. So like coming into camp, getting ready to like reset and kind of have a mini camp before you go back will probably help those two the most to get integrated in the system, really like
that's
integrated in the system
that's what I've been
because they
trying to tell you.
do fantastic when they first got here.
This layoff, Sixers probably were one of the most, if not most, beneficial teams from this layoff, and that's why everyone should like the entire city should be excited for that.
Well, obviously you think the Celtics are, I don't want to say easy competition, but a team that the Sixers could handle. So
They're
as
not.
one of the uh,
Yeah, I was gonna say they're not easy, but it's who you match up best with. You have guys like Simmons, like we can guard all their wing players that they do so well against. Like Simmons can shut down Walker. You're gonna have guys like obviously Embiid's better than anyone they got. Tobias Harris has really been a strong defender this year. He can get out there, guard Tatum, guard Marcus Smart, whoever. Josh Richardson's always been known for his defense. He'll get out there. Like our wing players can match up with everyone on their team there. And I mean, look at the regular season. We've shown it. I mean, we handled them every time we played them. It felt like.
no, we did do a lot better this year. I agree with that. But I was going to say, since we see that we can be a solid matchup for once against the Celtics, just like the Flyers finally did good against the Blue Jackets. Hallelujah. Our teams are finally doing good against teams we never did good against recently. Uh, but anyway, who do you think would be the biggest struggle for the Sixers then in conference and then your team for obviously if they got all the way to the finals in the Western Conference?
So in the East, uh, the toughest team, honestly, in the entire East, including the Bucks. I think the team that gives the Sixers the most trouble, and it's a possible first round matchup. The team, this team, the Sixers don't match up well against, and this is where it'd be interesting to see if we really want to find out if our coach has changed. It'd be a 7 game series against the Miami Heat. For whatever reason, the Miami Heat just they know how to play the Sixers. We saw in the regular season they were the only teams that really made the adjustment, knew how to handle us on offense and defensively. And whether that's Jimmy Butler helping them out or whatnot, I mean, the Heat were full. Honestly, I think if we're going to talk about a team that this layoff might hurt is the Heat because everyone thought the Heat were overachieving expectations and just really caught fire all season. So I'm really interested to see what the Heat do when we return. I don't think they're going to drop off that much. I think these guys are pretty good players, but they're an interesting team to see what they come back as. So I'd say, honestly, I think the Heat for the Sixers matchup wise, not saying the Heat's the best team in the East, I'm saying matchup wise for the Sixers, the Heat would give the Sixers the most trouble. Because again, the Sixers match up really well with the Bucks. The Sixers built their team to face the Celtics and Bucks, thinking that
What about the Raptors?
what was that
What about the Raptors since they're in second place? What are your thoughts on them?
in terms of toughest teams, I that's I'd probably put the Raptors maybe second or third again, because I do think the Bucks are the best in the East, but the matchup wise, the Sixers can go toe to toe with them, and even in the regular season. I mean, look at Christmas Day, we beat them
No,
by what 20
yeah,
plus points. So I know it sounds crazy to say, but I think I'd go Heat Raptors 1-2 with the toughest opponents, especially with the two teams
that's
going at
why
it last year. They got what was it?
that's why I asked about the Raptors because I agree with the I agree with you with the Heat too because Jimmy Butler just knows how to play us too. Like he's just going to torch us himself if anybody else sucks. So the Heat are going to be a tough matchup regardless, and then the Raptors are just a tough matchup for us recently. So that's a team that we haven't always played well. It's always a good back and forth matchup. So I agree with those top two teams in the East, especially. But um, also, I was wondering since are at the 57 minute mark now, what your team in the West is, since you did give a lot of confidence in the chances of us getting to the finals, which I like because I predicted us to potentially win the finals on Mike Missinelli about 7 to 8 odd or however many months ago that was now. I don't even know. Everything's clumping together, but that's a good prediction for me. So, who's your Western Conference team that's going to give us trouble then?
Again, I'm gonna go with a team not in first in the standings. I think the team that would give the Sixers the most trouble in the West is the LA Clippers. I think the way they're constructed, they'll give us a lot of problems. I think obviously Kawhi and Simmons go at it, and they've always been a fun matchup in that 7 game series last year. So I mean that would be a tough matchup. Patrick Beverly, I mean everyone knows how much he can get into everyone's head and everything. Paul George matches up really well against us, so he would scare me.
Who will?
Uh, Lou Williams off the bench is, I mean, 6 man of the year every year for a reason. Landry Shamet can shoot the lights out when he's on as well. Again, the way they kind of are
Played
constructed.
Patterson's played us good before too. I remember on with past teams, Patrick Patterson. I remember hitting his mid-range signature jump shots against us in the past. So
Yeah, he has. I think we could be fine with him.
no, but I don't need a random guy in my life again to be someone that scores like Aaron Baines.
Honestly the guy. If you're thinking random, and then I would go. Scares me more than Patrick Pierce to be Marcus Morris. I think
Yeah, I didn't
he's
know if he was random though.
yeah he's with them.
No, random. I didn't know if he was random though.
In terms of a guy off the yeah, I'd say he's the guy that you would, especially on this team, a guy you would least
Yeah,
expect
you wouldn't
to
expect him
hurt
to
us.
step. God,
So yeah, I think their matchup wise is just, I mean, obviously the Lakers got the best player in the league in LeBron James, but I mean, again, he kind of like Kawhi, like Simmons and James can go at it. We've seen it before, so that's another fun matchup. So I'm not saying obviously you can't control LeBron, but like you got a guy that can match up with him. Embiid and Davis. Embiid's pretty much owned Davis for the most of his career, so you already know you're fine there. Uh,
I
I, I think Richardson matches up fine with Danny Green, if not better. Tobias Harris again, I think he'll match up better in some cases.
I Yeah, I agree. I think the Clippers are definitely the hardest matchup because the Lakers don't have the depth in their roster that the Clippers do. But we're wrapping up to the last 20 seconds here, so I just wanted to wish everybody well and say go Sixers. And I love Andrew's prediction. This has been True Philadelphians, one with the Hive. Let's bring a championship back to Philadelphia. Peace out, everybody. No, I just didn't want you to